Hello everybody, it's Malcolm here from SWSEIC. I'm very sorry I couldn't be with you all this evening. I'm afraid I'm off gallivanting in the cairngorms this week. Typical, just can't get the staff. Elena's very kindly asked me along today to give you a video as a brief overview of the Adapting to Change iNaturalist project and just show you guys some of the more interesting things you've recorded this year. So for those of you who aren't aware, the Adapting to Change iNaturalist project is on the iNaturalist app, and this app is a free to use app that you can get in your phones, and it basically works by taking a photo of something in some sort of wildlife in the field, and that then becomes a record for us at the record centre, and it feeds. Once you've used the app to take your record, it also automatically feeds into the Adapting to Change project. And what that allows us to do is to see what wildlife are in the immediate area, and that can include the common things, but it can also highlight the locally important, rare and protected species as well. So here is the project here. And it's been going very well. So well done to all of our volunteers who've taken the time to record the wildlife when they're out and about. We're now at 432 total records, which is brilliant, and we're now sitting at just under 250 species as well. So that's a very good collective effort. Well done, folks. So this is what the project looks like. You can sort of see some of the more recent records. And there's also a very engaging leaderboard. So if you get really into this, you can start competing with each other to get the most records and the most species. I fully expect you all to do that now. So yeah, please do compete with each other. And there's also a species leaderboard, so you can see that the harbour spuggies, the sparrows, are winning with 21 records there. When you're in the project, if you scroll down, you can see roughly where we've mapped out the project to be and where those records are, and you can click on these little tags and you can see exactly what those records are of, which is really good. Or you can also go to observations and you can just look through the photos basically to see what has been seen out and about. So I thought you guys might be interested to see some of the more interesting things that's been recorded as part of the project, so let's have a look. So this plant here, this is wall pennywort. It's not a very common plant in Dumfries and Galloway at all. And this was found by the user Ev Ross near Powfoot. But if we look at our BSBI Atlas, if we look in Dumfriesshire, there's actually very few to no records in Dumfriesshire at all. There's certainly none along that Solway coast, so that was a very good record. A totally new site for the species, which is brilliant. That's a native plant. We also had a record of lavender cotton. So this is a non-native plant, and talking about climate change and adapting to it, a lot of the wildlife is adapting to it, and some things that didn't used to be wildlife are becoming wildlife. So this is lavender cotton. This is probably an ornamental escapee, and perhaps because of the changing climate it's starting to spread. Well, some of these species are starting to become wild. Lavender cotton, if we look at the BSBI Atlas, there are actually no records for this species at all in Dumfries and Galloway as a wild plant. So this is potentially a completely new species for the region, and that was found by the user. You have to sort of guess what people's usernames are pronounced as, but I'm going to go for Mr. DLM16, so well done. Just as important to record the non-natives as it is the natives. The user Sugar Snap Dragon recorded this millipede. This is Brachyolus pusillus. We've only actually got 9 records of this species in the whole region, and this is, I think, the first one for Dumfriesshire, the whole Vice County. So that was a very good find indeed. So well done. I'm going to go with iNaturalist user Very Malensa. Found yellow-legged water snipefly. Again, we've only got 25 records for this species in our database for the whole region, so a very good record indeed. This is a species that lives in the river as a maggot and feeds on the leaf litter, so this is a very good one for the project. Mike Evans recorded the house sparrows feeding its young, which is a great record in itself as well. The harbour spuggies, as I'm sure Elaine has probably talked to you about. Recording fledged chicks is a very useful piece of information. As we know, a lot of our native birds are in decline, but if we can record where they're breeding successfully, that's very useful information. So thank you, Mike, for recording a chick being fed. As well as birds, we were delighted to get a number of fish records. Nobody records fish, so any fish records are just fantastic. So again, Veru Malitza recorded European flounder in the Annan, which is great. Nice to get some fish records. We also had stone loach recorded by Francis KM. Again, having some fish records is brilliant, and we know that climate change is having a massive impact on fish. With the water temperatures rising, it's impacting a lot of the fish and their ability to survive in our waterways. So recording what fish are still there is vital and very useful information. I was delighted to see the cellar spider. Sometimes they're called daddy longlegses or whirling dervishes. This was recorded by Francis KM. Despite it probably being one of our commonest spiders, it's a very poorly recorded species. If we look at the National Atlas here, there's very few records in Dumfries and Galloway, and probably half of those are mine. So it's really good to see someone else recording spiders. This is a non-native species, so if you go on iNaturalist, you can see this pink exclamation mark. That just means it's a non-native species, and mapping the non-native species is really useful. Dinsdale B recorded European comma. Comma are a relatively new arrival to Dumfries and Galloway. They're one of these species that we think are doing quite well due to the improving conditions from climate change. So if we look at the national trends here, this is a local map that Butterfly Conservation have produced. We can see there's a lot more black dots than there are blue and yellow dots, and that just means it's a relatively new coloniser. So mapping the species that are coming in, naturally or otherwise, is very good. And also I'd like to highlight the tree bumblebee. Mike Evans photographed this in Annan. This is a species that didn't exist in Dumfries and Galloway until about 2010, 2011, something like that. And now it's pretty much widespread. So mapping the new species is very useful in mapping changes in distributions and things like that. So that's the project, folks. I'd like to give you all a very heartfelt thank you for taking the time to record your wildlife sightings. Every record helps feed into the national picture, into local policy, into planning. Every record really is extremely valuable. So thank you all for your time, and please continue to record on this project. Thank you very much.